Good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. It's Palestine here. I'm here this afternoon making the video about having the marker put into my tumor, which is the video that I said that I would be making. And so basically, we went to the hospital this morning and we had breakfast at the hospital, which was good. I had to pay £7 for breakfast for 2 people, which wasn't too bad considering we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. And basically, so we had our breakfast, and shortly after 8:30, I said, well, we need to go ahead and go to radiology. But I wanted to go to the restroom, so I used the restroom. There's only 2 restrooms, a disabled restroom and a men's restroom. And the disabled restroom was locked, so I had to use the men's restroom. And then somebody I work with saw my boyfriend, and he asked my boyfriend where I was when I was in the bathroom. And then my boyfriend said that I was in the bathroom. He asked, was I coming here to work? And my boyfriend said no, that I wasn't coming here to work. And then my boyfriend said, my colleague said, well, what is she doing here? And my boyfriend said, well, she has to see somebody. So he said, okay, well, have a good weekend. So he could have waited for me to get out of the bathroom, but he didn't. And so now my colleague knows that I was in the hospital this morning, so he may or may not say something to me. One thing that I do know is that they don't want you going to the hospital when you're not working. They don't want you being there when you're not working. But I had a legitimate reason to be there because I had an appointment in radiology. So now my colleague knows that I was in the hospital. He's not sure exactly what I was doing in the hospital, but he knows I was in the hospital. And then so we went up to radiology, and I didn't have a letter because they told me I didn't need a letter, that all I had to do was go over there and turn up. So I turned up at radiology, and then we went to the ultrasound department. So I was sitting in the ultrasound department waiting, and they allowed my boyfriend to go in there with me. And I told the radiology assistant, I said to her, I said, I'm really anxious and nervous. I said, I didn't sleep very well last night. And I told her, I said, when I had the biopsy, it all happened so quickly that I didn't have an opportunity to get anxious. I said, but now I'm anxious about what's happening. So the radiographer came in. My boyfriend was allowed to sit in there with me. And the radiographer came in, and I did tell her that I was anxious. I told her that it all happened when I had the biopsy. It had all happened so quickly that I didn't have an opportunity to get anxious. I said, but I'm anxious now. And so the lady was nice. I mean, you can't fault the customer service. You cannot fault the customer service at all. They were very empathetic and understanding and courteous. You cannot fault the customer service. But obviously, they were doing something to me that I didn't particularly like, because they had to, they were doing an ultrasound to find the tumor, and then they had to give me anesthetic. They had to give me a local anesthetic at first, and then they had to stick a needle in there to give me a deep anesthetic. And then when they gave me the deep anesthetic, then they stuck like a needle with a marker in there. And then when they stuck the needle with the marker in there, it was all over. But while this was going on, my phone was ringing. So it was a good thing that my boyfriend was in the room, because I asked the boyfriend would he turn off the phone. So it was actually later on, after everything had happened, I found out that it was somebody from the hospital phoning me, but I don't know who it was in the hospital that was phoning me, because I tried to ring that number and either, oh, hold on,